Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with another Wuthering Waves video, and this time it's going to be for some pre-release content over here, none other than Denia. And the conversation that we're going to be having today is going to be a bit of a rough one, and that is going to be the conversation about how I think Kuro Games might have actually just f***ed up this character in terms of pull value. And I'm having this conversation with all of you guys today for one specific reason, because there's a lot of very interesting new character designs coming out right after her. We're actually getting one of them for free. And the main realization that a lot of you have likely come to is that you've spent a lot of pulls probably on Hiyuki or maybe the characters that preceded before her. And now you were maybe thinking about pulling Denia, but ever since you got news about this collaboration over here, and also knowing that Lucy isn't going to be free, and then you also know that we got Lucilla as well, tying up the rest of version 3.4, you might be having some second thoughts over here about whether or not you actually want to pull Denia. And the thing is, now that we've gotten the full sort of like kit reveal for Denia when it comes to everything that she does, what buffs she provides, what sonatas that she's going to be using, well, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like the decision to skip or not has become very clear for most players. And, well, we're here today to break that all down. So, first things first, we're just gonna get the elephant addressed immediately. Denia is not a high-value pull, and she is an extremely low-value pull if you have one character in the game. And that character is unfortunately going to be, well, likely one of the most highest...
Long bucket list. Good thing I've got time to check every box.
One of the highest owned units in the game, it's going to be Lene, because this is going to be the main purpose of Denia over here, and I'm just gonna get out before she spray paints me. Denia's main role in Wuthering Waves is to do two things: be a fusion burst sub DPS and a tune strain support. You can see it over here in one of her inherent skills, and of course in different areas of her kit, but this is where it gets defined really clearly. She's got one resonance mode, and as we all know, the resonance modes are when you...
Got a long bucket
Okay. Okay, she talks too much. We're gonna have to silence her real fast. My bad, guys. We're talking about resonance modes over here. It's your ability to essentially switch between two separate forms, and your abilities will end up doing different things or applying different effects depending on which form that you're in. And one of Denia's main things is that she does have two resonance forms. One for Fusion Burst, where she applies a shit ton of fusion burst on her abilities and also buffs the team's fusion damage, and then also a tune strain version, which gives her team tune break boost, which is really good for tune strain. It increases the overall damage of that archetype, but it also requires her to have Mornier on her team, because for her to get her team's full tune break boost, well, she's got to have off tune buildup rate on the character as well. So basically, Denia has a tune strain mode, a fusion burst mode, but to make her tune strain mode work, she needs Mornier on her team. This character over here who, well, all you gotta do is read their Forte circuit on their Syntony field, right? Holy shit, this is one of the longest Forte circuits of the game. Mornier's Syntony field over here, you can see it, increases the off-tune buildup rate of all nearby resonators in the team within the field by 50%. So, yeah, that's just at a baseline how Denia's two roles are split up. And this is the catch. She's very good in both roles. She's going to be an extremely strong character in both roles. But the thing is that these roles that Denia is fulfilling, they are currently already done quite well by the unit that we were talking about before, Lene. Because do you want to know what the best in slot teams are for a, well, let's just say a unit like Imyth right now? What our best in slot team is? Yeah, it's going to be these two: Mornier and Lene. Do you know what Luke's best in slot team is? Yeah, currently right now it is Mornier and Lene. And so the idea over here, right, is that Luke's best in slot team, let's just use Encore for Denia because they're kind of, you know, they're kind of similar, right? That would be Luke's new best in slot team. Replace Lene with Denia. And then Imyth's new best in slot team would be replacing, well, Mornier with Chisa. And this probably is only for AoE too, or Tune Rusher mode would still probably be better in TOA. And then you replace Lene for Denia over here. And guys, unfortunately, because of some of the restrictions that have been built into Denia's kit, And the fact, right, if she's going to be a Fusion Burst support, she's probably only going to work with the one Fusion Burst DPS that we have in the game, Imith. This is essentially like a two-person character. You pull her, and you're only going to use her on release as a sub DPS on 2 teams in the game. And both of those teams, ladies and gentlemen, really want to have a premium support on them as well. You probably don't really want to play this Imith team over here with Denia unless you're going to have Chisa on the team. It's probably not going to feel very good because she increases the stack limit, right, on Fusion Burst, which is going to make the Fusion Burst deal a lot more damage. And then Denia with her outro skill, right? Let's just make sure we read what the outro skill does over here. Huh. She buffs Fusion Burst damage. So you probably want the upper stack limit of Fusion Burst increased so that the Fusion Bursts deal more damage so that they can get amplified even more than they normally would in this circumstance. You can kind of see what's going on over here. She is the most premium of the premium units. You want to have pretty much everything when it comes to her teammates, when it comes to like her weapon, everything too, for her to feel really, really, really good and to actually have a use case. But the thing is that Lene already supports both of the DPSs that she's designed for. And so simply from like a value or a budget perspective, for 99.9% of players, the only reason why you would ever think about pulling Denia in the first place is so that like your Lene has more uses elsewhere. And that's just kind of rough. That's just kind of rough in terms of value when you know that Lene is already this sort of like generalist character that works on so many different team comps in the game, right? Now, right over here, I'm just listing you like some of like the DPSs that Lene works with. Denia will never get close to her in terms of performance with any of these other DPSs. For Denia, it's just Luke and it's just Imith. And it is just really, really, really rough. Because we just came off the back of this sub DPS. We haven't had another sub DPS release since Lene in 3.0. Lene came in and then proceeded to buff like almost every single team in the game. Best in slot only on a few of them, right? But then she still has use cases pretty much everywhere across the roster. And now we got this unit coming out right over here. Right before one of the most groundbreaking collaborations in gacha history, and of course, another unit like Lucilla over here, who's also potentially shaping up to be a sub DPS as well, right? Denia's coming in, and she looks like one of the most restrictive ones that we've ever seen. And it's just kind of wild once you think about it, right? Especially following the release of Lene, that we have somebody that's way more specific. And if you already have Lene, well then all of the DPSs that Denia would be supporting are already technically taken care of. So that's one big reason to skip her. That's one big reason to not really bother with even pulling her in the first place, even though she's actually one of the anniversary units. Now, let's get into the second reason for why nobody would actually want to pull this character. And this is probably the most practical one for 99% of characters. Remember how I talked to you about how this Denia unit, she's got 2 resonance modes? Well, guess what? With 2 resonance modes, guys, she also is going to have multiple Sonata sets. And so the first one over here that I'm going to be showing you guys is, of course, going to be her Fusion Burst Sonata set, Chromatic Foam, where A, she gets a minor fusion damage bonus while dealing damage with it. Then, using an outro skill grants the incoming resonator a 25% fusion damage bonus. Combined with, like, the passive parts of her kit, as well as, like, her own 4-cost echo that she's going to be getting, right? Denia's going to be providing literally, like, 67% fusion damage bonus to Imith on her teams. That's cool, right? This set would be great. Yeah, no, this set is great for the Imith team. But on the other hand, she also has a second set that she needs if she's going to be using her Toon Strain archetype. Ladies and gentlemen, this is honestly, I think, one of the only characters in the game that we've had where it's like, you kind of do need both Sonata sets. For other characters that can run multiple Sonata sets, it's more so like optional. In Denia's case, it's not. On her Fusion Burst form, there's no fucking way at all that you're going to be using Real Splice memories. It will have literally no effect. And similarly, on her Chromatic Foam set, right? The Fusion Burst one, there's no fucking way you're going to be using your Toon Strain form. Because in Toon Strain form, you never even inflict Fusion Burst in the first place, so the set is useless. And conversely, when you in Fusion Burst form, Realist Splice Memories will never activate either because you'll never apply Rupture and you'll never apply Strain when you're on those Resonance modes. So it's kind of just like, you actually literally do need to farm 2 whole fucking Sonata sets. You're probably going to be going for double crit on everything. And believe me when I say this, this character low-key bricked my fucking account. Yeah, I don't even need to show you that much over here, bro. Like, I've got no 1-cost echoes left. Like, I don't even have, like, double crit. The double crits I do have are, like, kind of dog shit. And this is going to be the big one I need to show you guys over here. Bro, I started the Denia pre-farming with, like, 2,500 tuners. Maybe, like, 2,600. Now I have, like, 600 left, and I have, like, half a set. I have, like, half a set for both of them. It's rough. It's not good. It's really not good at all. And you want to know what the worst part about all of this is that I'm building 2 new Sonata sets, using up all these tuners, all these tubes, all these modifiers, all of this shit, when there's 3 new units releasing next patch, bro. There's 3 new units releasing next patch, and I'm out here bricking my resources. I'm out here bricking my resources to build 2 new sets for a unit that, like, isn't even, like, that strong meta-wise. Do you kind of see how, like, the second reason she's bricked, the second reason to skip her is, like, a little bit worse than the first? It's because you're building these 2 new sets, but then those 2 new sets are only for, like, 2 different characters. Just 2 of them on the roster. And then those 2 characters that she supports, Luke and Imeth, already get supported very, very, very well by Lene. And you want to know what the most demonic part about all of this is? Oh, this one's really going to rustle your jimmies. Lene only has 1 Sonata set that she has ever needed to use ever. Yeah, no, she's only got 1 fucking Sonata set that she's ever needed to use ever in the history of the game. Pact of Neon Light Leap. Yeah, you just get this. You just get this shit. You don't need to change it, bro. And she uses the same set on both resonance modes. And the funny thing is, guys, so does Imeth. The other, not a sub DPS, but DPS character, bro. Trailblazing Star. Inflicting Fusion Burst or Toon Rupture increases the Resonator's crit rate. So, like, she has 2 resonance forms, but is only going to be using 1 set. 2 resonance forms, only uses 1 set. Usable on a bunch of teams. Oh, sorry. Also usable on a bunch of teams. This unit, 2 resonance forms, 2 sets, and 2 teams. 2 teams. 2 fucking teams. And you need 1 unique Sonata set to operate in each team. Oh my lord. I'm going to be honest with you, bro. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of wild. And let me just bring up one chatter over here that really inflicted a mental debuff on me. Give me 1 second. It's just a woo-wah CC problem. I'm out here literally telling you that I am the guy that typically has more resources than other characters, and I'm telling you that this unit is bricking my account resource-wise. So, like, if it's bricking my account, wouldn't it brick somebody else's account that doesn't have as much stuff worse? Anyways, yeah, I probably short-circuited the guy. The main point over here is, guys, this is the most premium of premium units that I've ever seen anywhere, premium-wise. You basically want a star-studded cast of 5-star limited characters, and you also want an insane amount of expenditure on the Echo side to build her 2 unique sets on 2 different specializations. And then from there, you're gonna do all of that, do all of this work for her to only have 2 teams in the game, and those 2 teams are literally already covered by Lene, who does it all with less investment. Because, guys, it's now time for us to get into the third reason for why you probably should skip Denia. And that's because she's a rectifier user. Yeah, get ready for this one, guys. This one's really gonna piss you guys off. So remember how I was just talking about how this unit Lene has so many different use cases? Basically already does and covers everything that Denia's trying to do on the roster. Does it more affordably as well by not requiring 2 Sonata sets. Yeah, what if I also told you that she does it in the most free-to-play friendly way possible because you don't even need her signature? You could just use this free-to-play weapon called Static Mist instead. Yeah, what if I just told you that you could just do it on Static Mist too? The standard weapon that you're probably gotten multiple copies of. It's super easy to get it. And then Denia, on the other hand, has basically nothing when it comes to her ability to buff her teammates. Literally nothing except for, and get ready for this one. This one's also going to piss you off. Her signature. Because her signature has something very cool built in. Their teammates. They can get a 24% attack increase if they inflict Fusion Burst or Toon Strain Shifting. Luke and Imeth do both of those. So essentially, right, this character has no way to get external buffs to the team from their weapon other than their sig, while Lene has that ability just from pulling a standard weapon. Because guess what, guys? And we all kind of know this by now. The standard rectifiers are really fucking bad. If anything, like, rectifiers in a whole are kind of like bad. You got Cosmic Ripples, which doesn't really do anything, and then Boson Astrolabe, which doesn't fucking do anything either. None of the other rectifiers buff except Shorekeepers, and Denia doesn't heal, motherfucker. While pistol users just get, like, delectable gourmet offerings over here. Guys, you really want Denia's signature, too. Because that's kind of like one of the only ways for her to get any buffing ability at all for her team. Because I'm pretty sure that her personal damage is pretty fucking dog shit, too, like Lene's. But there are no good standard weapon options for her. There aren't. But there's an amazing god tier, tier 01 for Lene. So Lene does everything that Denia does. Maybe not at like a 100% level, but at like a 95%, 90% easy. And simply pulling Lene instead of Denia will get all of your clears going, everything that you need done at a way lower budget. Second, Denia needs 2 fucking sets to operate in her 2 different archetypes. Lene just needs her one single set, and then she works on every single team that she could ever possibly work on. Awesome. So you're beat there too. And then Lene also has an easier standard weapon to work with. Oh, and you want to know the other big thing? Reason number 4 to skip? Yeah, we just did a quick recap of reasons 1 through 3. That's probably enough already. You want to know reason? Yeah, we got this shit right afterwards, bro. We got this shit right afterwards, bro. So you got the most expensive unit in the game, Sonata set-wise. You got one of the most restricted units in the game, team comp-wise. And now you got one of the most expensive in the game in terms of, like, weapon choice side, because rectifiers are dog shit, and Stringmaster has to rerun it over a fucking year. And then you got collab characters. Some of the most hyped up units and storylines we probably ever had in gacha history coming right after her. I don't think I've ever seen a unit, like, we thought Sigrika was bad, right, ladies and gentlemen? We thought Sigrika was not good, that she was Skip Rika. I think that Denia, all things considered, I just feel bad for her. Because I don't think that there's even anything wrong with, like, her kit, her animations, any of that. I simply think that her use cases as a character, right? Her use cases as a character are simply too constrained, at least in the present, for her to be a high value pick for anybody. And I think one of the actual reasons for why she's not going to be pulled as much is very, very, very simple. They kind of made this unit too strong, and they made Denia's best in slot teammates kind of work too well with her. I'm personally of the opinion it probably would have been way nicer if Luke didn't work that well with Lene. Or if, like, I don't fucking know, like, Imeth didn't have Lene as, like, her, like, rupture partner or something like that. The main sort of issue is that Lene has been, like, this staple, this must pull for pretty much every character in the game because of how free-to-play accessible she was and how strong she was, that most people have her. because she's broken. And simply the act of having her, which most people are going to do because of how strong she is, makes Denia so much weaker of a pull. It's fucking ridiculous. She makes Denia feel so much worse because she can already cover all of Denia's teams. And so you're pulling Denia to kind of like fill out a capability that you already have. That's just bad roster building. That's just a bad investment player-wise. And then you make that bad investment worse. You make that bad investment worse by making her one of the most expensive characters to grind for in the game. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I think this unit is really potentially going to brick your account. And I know I'm slightly sabotaging myself as a guide maker, right? As a guy that does like first impressions, that does all this shit. But I gotta be realistic with you about what this character is probably going to do with your account. I'm not gonna lie, I think most people will probably regret pulling her, at least in the present. But it's time for us to kind of get into the silver lining over here, right? And that's this. I think Denia is going to hit a ceiling with one of her forms. Her Fusion Burst form, right? I don't really know if we're going to be getting another Fusion Burst DPS that will be able to leverage this outro skill that we're seeing over here, right? Where Fusion Burst damage is amplified by 60% for 30 seconds. This is probably the end of the road for this one. But her second outro skill over here in Tune Strain mode, right? After this Resonator under this effect inflicts Tune Strain shifting, they gain 40% damage amp instead. Well, that's not very specific, is it? Right? All you need to do is be able to inflict Tune Strain, and you'll be able to get 40% amp. And then naturally, Tune Strain scales very well with the Tune Break boost she's providing as well. We just simply needed another Tune Strain character, and then Denia's going to be able to get a second team. No doubt at all. No qualms about it. Nothing too confusing over here. But when's the next Tune Strain character going to come out? And also, are you going to like the character that's a Tune Strain character? Because at that point, are you pulling characters because you like them? Or are you pulling characters to get rid of, like, the debt that you put yourself into roster-wise by pulling Denia? Because that's something people do, too. They take sunk cost fallacy on their Wuthering Waves account or their Gensh account or their HSR account. My unit is useless because I pulled them when it wasn't a good idea to pull them. Now I'm pulling units that I don't like to make the useless unit less useless. That's also a bad thing to do as well. You're probably going to end up upset too. And that's unfortunately the future that I see for a lot of people pulling Denia. Because I just don't think she's going to be that good on release. That's just my personal take though. We will have to see about that one. So yeah, that's just going to be my little forewarning for all of you over here. But like I said before, I think it's undeniable. Denia is an account bricker. And as the CC that does day one guides, covers every single character, I'm probably going to be one of the best equipped people to tell you that. Yes, she's going to fuck up your account if you try to make her actually work. And she's going to fuck up your account real bad before the collab. So make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, or you are going to be really like, bro, it's like, the best way I could describe it, bro, is like, imagine that Denia, pulling her. It's like buying a video game in like 2003. You come back from the store, it's a hard disk, by the way, and it's in the wrong language. And you don't know when you're going to be able to go back to the game store. It was like a 2-hour drive away. That's what pulling Denia will feel like. For most people, if you don't have any idea what you're getting yourself into, your shit will be cooked, because mine 1000% is. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.